Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees. Thank you all for joining in for our Srila Prabhupada book study session. So today we are actually it's going to be the last session for our book, The Path of Perfection. And on Sunday, day after tomorrow, we'll be starting our 13th book in the series, which is Nectar of Instruction. So thank you all for joining in. Let's start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadhaya Krishna Preshchaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Dishe Namaha Panchatattva-atmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tarale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mishwaram Harihi Om Tatsat Hare Krishna. So Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees. So we are currently reading from chapter 10 of the book, The Path of Perfection. So we've been seeing how Srila Prabhupada has been explaining what is the path of perfection. Bhakti Yoga is the path of perfection. What is the perfection? Krishna Prema. And what is the path? Krishna also tells the same thing in 6.47. Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yoma semi yukta tamomataha. But of all the paths of attaining the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best process is the path of Bhakti Yoga because it is the easiest process and it is also joyfully performed. So, and yesterday we were seeing how Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. We know Bhakti Yoga is the best, but what is the platform in which Bhakti Yoga can be performed? It can be performed very nicely when one is above the stage of lamenting and hankering for things. When we are lamenting for things that we've lost or hankering for things that we don't have, in that state, we cannot execute devotional service with the exclusive objective of attaining Krishna Prema. So this is the platform. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. No lamentation and also no hankering. And samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So at this stage, one is able to attain pure devotional service. What is that? Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. That means equal to every living entity. Not being partial to anybody, liking somebody, not liking somebody. So that's not the platform by which one can actually execute devotional service very nicely so as to attain the desired success of Krishna Prema. So now let's go ahead with the last chapter. We are almost concluding a couple of paragraphs that we have right now. Let me share my screen. And devotees who want to read can raise your hand. And then we go ahead. Yeah. Correct. So this is what we discussed yesterday. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktir labate param. One who is transcendently situated, never laments nor desires to have anything, is equally disposed, and he attains pure devotional service unto me. Let's move forward. Okay, so who will read? Okay, Manimala Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. Yes, Mataji.
As soon as one is spiritually realized, he feels full satisfaction and no longer hankers and flickering material enjoyment. As stated in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita 2.59, Vishaya Binibhartate Nirdharshaya Dehyate Dehana.
Rasavarjam param drishtva nivartate.
After you, Mataji.
Okay, so yeah, Vishaya Vinivartante.
Vishaya Vinivartante.
Niraharasya dehinaha.
Harshaya Dehanta.
Niraharasya
Dehinaha. Rasa Varjane. Rasopyasya Param Drashtabha Nivartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. A doctor may tell a diseased man, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't have sex, don't. In this way, a diseased man is forced to accept so many don't. But inside, he is thinking, oh, if I can just get these things, I will be happy. The desires remain inside. However, when one is established,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I can find it.
Yeah, one second. I don't know what happened. Yeah, so in this way, a diseased man, yeah, from there, you read. In this way, a diseased man is forced to accept so many don'ts. But inside, he's thinking, oh, if I can just get these things, I'll be happy. From there, you read, Mataji, from here.
He is so strong inside that he doesn't experience the desire, although he is not important. He does not have sex. He can marry thrice, but Nirvartate. When something superior is acquired, one naturally gives up all inferior things. That which is superior is the supreme personality of Godhead, as atheism and impersonalism
cannot give us this.
Cannot give us this. He is attained only by unalloyed devotion.
Purusha. Thank you, Mataji. So Krishna tells in thank you, Haribol. So Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah. So Bhaktyamam abhijanati, only by a pure devotee can I be understood as I am. Right? So here also Prabhupada mentions the same thing. How do we understand Krishna completely? Right? Not by saying no to various things, while our heart is actually harping on those sense objects. Oh, it will be very nice if I can have that pizza. Right? But how do we develop that higher taste? Param drishtva nivartate. We can give up our attraction for all of the smaller things when we understand the bigger purpose of life, when we see the bigger picture. Right? How? By avoiding that, it will serve a higher purpose. In this way, when I have a higher taste for things, then I will be able to give up all of these lower engagements. That's why Prabhupada is mentioning here, when one is established in Krishna consciousness, he is so strong that he doesn't experience the desire to do all of these lower items of sense gratification, right? And then Prabhupada is saying, how do we attain something that is superior? By actually engaging in the process of devotional service. One gets a taste for devotional service. When one gets a taste for devotional service, one can actually give up all of the the attachments and or allurements of Maya, or the the lower attractions that currently attract us. We can give up attraction for all of that, like that. Okay, Shobha Mataji, go ahead. Purusha sa para partha bhaktya
Hare Krishna
labhyastvananyaya
Dandat Pranam.
yantahastani
Purusha
bhutani
Parakshata
sarvam idam tatam.
Bhaktya
Hare Krishna. Yes,
Labhyasya Ananyaya Yasya Tastani Bhutani Yena Sarvam Itam Tatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attained by unalloyed division. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him. Bhagavad Gita 8.22. The words Purushaha Sa Paraha indicates the Supreme Person who is greater than all others. This is not a void speaking, but a person who has all the characteristics of personality in full, just as we are talking face to face. When we reach the Supreme Abode, we can talk to God face to face. We can play with Him, eat with Him, and everything else. This state is not acquired by mental speculation, but by transcendental loving service, bhakti labhyaha. The word swa anyaya indicates that this bhakti must be without adulteration. It must be unalloyed. Although the Supreme Personality is a person and is present in his abode in the spiritual sky, he is so widespread that everything is within him. He is both inside and outside. Although God is everywhere, he still has his kingdom, his abode. The sun may pervade the universe with its sunshine, yet the sun itself is a separate entity. In his supreme
Hare Krishna.
abode, the
Thank you,
Supreme
Mataji.
Lord, Haribol, thank you, Mataji,
Haribol.
Srila
Dandavat
Prabhupada.
pranam. Thank you so much. Okay, so here Prabhupada is talking about Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. He's talking about the three levels of understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada is saying here that we will be able to talk to Lord Shri Krishna face to face when we go back to the Supreme Abode. That state is not attained by any other way other than by bhakti or devotional service. So it is not at all possible for somebody who believes that Brahman is the best or Paramatma is the best, not to even understand that as such kind of superior reality of this Adan Pradhan, of this loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is even possible. But although the Supreme Personality is a person and he is still in the abode, right? When we pray to the Lord, we see that the Lord is personally present in his supreme abode. But at the same time, the Lord is present in our hearts as Paramatma. The Lord is present in the Archa Vigraha form in our home to accept our worship. So how is it possible? It is possible because the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it cannot be logically understood how the Lord is present in the Dham also, present in the temple also, present at our home also, in the Archa Vigraha form, present in our heart also as Super Soul, right? But one who believes this, although God is everywhere, he still has his kingdom, he still has his abode. And Prabhupada is giving the beautiful example of a sun. The sun, by the rays of the sun, the whole world is pervaded. Right? We cannot even see anything without the rays of the sun, without the light of the sun. Yet the sun itself is a separate entity, which means there is a separate sun planet, which is almost equivalent to the Paramatma realization. And inside the sun planet is the sun god, Vivaswan. Right? And in this way, Prabhupada is actually telling us that the highest realization is to understand that the Lord is the Supreme Person and to be able to engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All right. So let's move ahead. Anyone else wants to read? In his supreme abode. Okay. Mala Mataji, go ahead. In his supreme abode, the Supreme Lord has no rival.
Hare Krishna. In his supreme abode, the Supreme Lord has no rival. Wherever we may be, we find a predominating personality. In the United States, a predominating personality is the president. However, when the next election comes, the president will have so many rivals. But in the spiritual sky, the Supreme Lord has no rival. Those who want to become rivals are placed in this material world under the conditions of material nature. In the spiritual sky, there is no rivalry, and all the inhabitants therein are liberated souls. From Srimad Bhagavatam, we receive information that their bodily features resemble gods. In some of the spiritual planets, God manifests in two-armed form, and in others, he manifests a four-armed form. The living entities of those planets have corresponding features, and one cannot distinguish who is God and who is not. This is called Sarupya Mukti liberation, wherein one has the same features as the Lord. There are 5 kinds of liberation. Sayujya, Sarupya, Shalokya, Sarshti, and Samipya. Sayujya Mukti means merging into God's impersonal effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti. We have discussed this and have concluded that the attempt to merge and lose individuality is not desirable and is very risky. Sarupya Mukti means attaining a body exactly like God's. Salokya Mukti means living on the same planet with God. Sarshti Mukti means having the opulence of God. For instance, God is very powerful and we can become powerful like him. This is called Sarshti. Samapya Mukti means always remaining with God as one of his associates. For instance, Arjuna is always with Krishna as his friend, and this is called Samapya Mukti. We can attain any one of these 5 types of liberation, but out of these 5, Sayujya Mukti, merging into the Brahma Jyoti, is rejected by Vaishnava philosophy. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, we worship God as he is and retain our separate identity eternally in order to serve him. According to the Mayavada philosophy, impersonalism, one tries to lose his individual identity and merge into the existence of the Supreme. That, however, is a suicidal policy and is not recommended by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna.
This is
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So here, Prabhupada is explaining the 5 different kinds of liberation, which we discussed earlier also. There is a Samipya Mukti, there is Sarshti Mukti, there is Sarupya Mukti, and then there is this Samipya Mukti. And the first one of all of this is Sayujya Mukti. Right? Prabhupada very clearly mentioned here why devotees reject Sayujya Mukti. Why? Because it entails merging into the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Why do we, when we merge into the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, there is no opportunity to serve the Lord. Because we are just like, it's kind of light that is dazzling. There is no opportunity to serve. There is no opportunity to see the Lord in his personal form. So in that case, it is mentioned that this is the Brahman realization. It is not the highest realization. And it cannot give bliss to the living entity. Because of that, what happens? The living entity falls down even after attaining a transcendental state of attaining the Brahman stage. Even the Paramatma stage, there is no opportunity of rendering service, and hence there is no bliss. And Prabhupada is saying Brahman is actually a suicidal policy, and it is not recommended by Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, because we are not satisfied. We are looking for other alternatives, and that is why such people, even though they may attain Brahman realization, they fall down. And then what do they engage in? They engage in doing charitable work, wherein they build relationship with people. So we are all people with emotions who want to build a relationship and this connect with the Lord and also with the Lord's devotees, right? So in this way, we are all looking at the two-armed form of the Lord. Krishna himself tells in Bhagavad Gita, after showing the Virat Roop, where all of the demons and the demigods are all going inside the mouth, which was very fierce, and Arjuna actually paid obeisances. And he said, "Oh Krishna, this form of yours is so fearful, I cannot take it. So can you please show me your normal form?" But before showing the two-handed form, Krishna also shows him the four-handed form. And even after seeing that, the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma form of the Lord, now he's again struck with awe and reverence, right? Although it is not as fearful as the Virat Rupa. And finally asks Krishna, "Oh Krishna, please show me your two-handed form." That is the form that devotees like. Why? Because that gives an opportunity for the devotee to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So Anjana Mataji, go ahead. This has also been rejected by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. This has also been rejected by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who advocated worship in separation. As stated before, the pure devotee does not even want liberation. He simply asks to remain Krishna's devotee birth after birth. This is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayer, and the word birth after birth indicate that there is no liberation. This means that the devotee doesn't care whether he is liberated or not. He simply wants to engage in Krishna consciousness. Loving service is the symptom of pure devotion. Of course, whenever a devotee is, he remains in the spiritual kingdom, even though in the material body. On his part, he does not demand any of the 5 types of liberation, nor anything for his personal superiority or comfort, but in order to associate with Lord in the uh, separation,
Spiritual planets.
God in the spiritual planets, one must become his pure devotee. For those who are not pure devotee, Lord Krishna explains at what times one could leave the body in order to attain liberation. Yatra kale tav anavritam avritam cheva yogina prayata yanti tam kalam vakshyami Bharat
Bharatarshava.
Bhartashrava. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which passing away from this world one does or does not come back. Bhagavad Gita 8.23. In India, unlike in the West, it is common for astrologers to make minute calculation of the astronomical situation at the moment of one's birth. Indeed, a person's horoscope is read by, not only when he is born but also when he dies, in order to determine what his situation will be in next life. All this can be determined by astrological calculation. In this verse, Lord Krishna is accepting those astrological principles, confirming that if one leave his body at a particular time, he may attain liberation. If one dies at one moment, he may be liberated, or if he dies at another moment, he may have returned to the material world. It is all a question of chance, but that chance, some or other, is what one has for maybe if one uh, Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji. It is not appearing Mataji on screen. Right.
I'll make you co-host. Make you co-host, Mataji.
Yeah.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you. So due to network issue, I had to get logged out. All right. So so I was just saying, we were reading half, right? I think Mataji was reading. Whatever is the astrological situation, the devotee in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed liberation. Okay, we'll ask Mataji to read. Where is Mataji? Yes. Who was reading? Please raise your hand, then I can unmute you. Okay, so you just raise your hand and then I will unmute you. So here, Prabhupada is talking about if one dies at one particular moment, he may be liberated. If he dies at another moment, he may have to return to this material world. So is the time when a person is born or the time that a person is leaving his body so important? Then Prabhupada actually explains how it is very important. That's why Bhishma Pitamaha also, he waited for the Uttarayan. He waited for the Uttarayan time to actually leave his body. Right? So is it important to leave our body at a particular time? But for devotees, Prabhupada explains in another situation, for devotee, it does not matter what time a devotee leaves his body. Why? Because do we have a control on what time, on when we can leave our body? We have no control over it. But what do we have control over? We have control over how we live our life. Entire life, if we live in a way that is pleasing to the Lord, in a way that we're able to remember the Lord at all times. In that way, we will be able to remember Lord at the time of death, right? So in that situation, when one is able to remember the Lord throughout his life, then actually it does not really matter whether whatever time one actually gives up his body, it does not really matter. That's what is explained by Prabhupada here. So quickly, there's about 1 or 2 paragraphs left. We'll study this, so that we complete this, and then we'll move on to Bhagavad Gita. So let me share my screen. Who wants to read? अग्निर्ज्योतिरः शुक्लः सन्मास उत्तरायणं तत्र प्रयाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्म विदो जनाः. Who was reading it actually? So for some reason I lost the. Okay, anyway, Gaushmi Mataji, go ahead. Those who know the Supreme Brahman.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Those who know the Supreme Brahman pass away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment during the fortnight of the moon and the 6th month when the sun travels in the north. Bhagavad Gita 8.24. As we all know, the sun's movements are different. 6 months it is north of the equator, and 6 months it is south. The sun is also moving according to Vedic calendar, and from Srimad Bhagavatam we are informed that the sun is situated at the center of the universe. Just as all the planets are moving, the sun is also moving at the speed calculated to the 16,000 miles per second. If a person dies when the sun is in the north hemisphere, he can attain liberation. That is not only the verdict of Bhagavad Gita, but also of other scriptures.
Dumoratri Sita Krishna Sanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandrama Samjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Okay, we'll ask Navkishori Mataji. Go ahead. The mystic who passes away from this world.
Hare Krishna
during...
The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the moonless fortnight, or the 6th month when the sun passes to the south, or who reaches the moon planet, again comes back. Bhagavad Gita 8.25. No one can say when he is going to die, and in the sense the moment of one's death is accidental. However, for a devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no question of accident. शुक्ला कृष्णे गति है एते जगतः शाश्वते मते यत्य अन्वन्त्री वृतम अनन्याय वर्तते पुनः. According to the Vedas, there are two ways of passing from this world. One is light and one is darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back come back. But when one passes in darkness, he return. Bhagavad Gita 8.26, the same description of departure and return is quoted by Acharya Baladeva Vidyabhushana from the Chandogaya Upanishad. In such a way, those who are fruitive laborers and philosophical speculators from time immemorial are constantly going and coming. Actually, they do not attain ultimate salvation, for they do not surrender to Krishna. Naite Shriti Parthagnanan Yogi Muhyati Kachana Tasmet Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. The devotees who know these two parts, O Arjuna, are never bewildered. Therefore, he always fixed in devotion. Bhagavad Gita 8.27. Herein the Lord confirms that there is no chance for one who practices Bhakti Yoga. His destination is certain. Whether he dies when the sun is in the northern or southern hemisphere is of number importance. As we have already stated, we find things of Krishna at their time of death. He will at once be transferred to Krishna's abode. Therefore, Krishna tells Arjuna to always remain in Krishna consciousness. That is, this is possible through the chanting of Hare Krishna. Since Krishna and his spiritual kingdom are not different, being absolute, Krishna and his sound vibration are the same. Simply by vibrating Krishna's name, we can enjoy Krishna's association. If we are walking down the street chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna is also going with us. If we walk down the street and look up at the sky, we may see that the sun or moon is accompanying us. I shall recall about 50 years ago when I was householder, my second son, who was about 4 years old, at that time was walking with me down the street, and he suddenly asked me, "Father, why is the moon going with us? If a material object like the moon has power to accompany us, we can surely understand that the Supreme Lord, who is all powerful, can always remain with us. Being omnipotent, he can always keep us company, provided that we are also qualified to keep his company. Pure devotees are always merged in the thought of Krishna and are always remembering that Krishna is with them. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has confirmed the absolute nature of Krishna in his Shishtastakam, verse number 2. Mataji, can you sing, please?
नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तेष् तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवान् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशम् इह जाने नानुरागः.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. My Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name, there is all good fortune for the living entity, and therefore you have many names, such as Krishna and Govinda, by which you expand yourself. You have invested all your potencies in all those names, and there are no hard and fast rule for remembering them, my dear Lord. Although you bestow such mercy upon the fallen conditioned souls by liberally teaching your holy names, I am so unfortunate that I commit offenses while chanting the holy name, and therefore I do not achieve attachment for chanting. We may take the effort to spend a great deal of money and attempt to build or establish a temple for Krishna. But if we do not, if we do so, must observe many rules and regulations and see properly to the temple's management. But herein it is confirmed that simply by chanting, any man can have the benefit of keeping company with Krishna, just as Arjuna is deriving benefit by being in the same chariot with Lord Shri Krishna. We can also benefit by associating with Krishna through the chanting of his holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This Mahamantra is not my personal concussions, but it is authorized by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is considered to be not apply an authority but the incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna himself. It was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who said, "Oh Lord, you are so kind to the people of this material world that you expand yourself in your holy name so that they can associate with you." Although the Mahamantra
Thank
is
you,
in the
Mataji.
Sanskrit
Very well.
language. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we just have one more paragraph to go. We'll just complete this book today. So here, Prabhupada is making a very, very profound statement, right? What is it? We have to perform, if you have to perform various kinds of yajnas, or we have to perform some kind of temple management, we have to follow so many rules and regulations. But in chanting of Hare Krishna Mantra, there are actually no rules and regulations. Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktish Tatra Arpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Idrisham Ihajani Nanuragaha. Right? But we don't have any taste in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But still, if we just simply continue to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then we will attain the eternal destination. All right. So let's move to the last paragraph. Okay, Maushmi Mataji, go ahead. Although the Mahamantra
Although the Mahamantra is in the Sanskrit language and many people do not know its meaning, it is still so attractive that people participate when it is chanted publicly. When chanting the Mahamantra, we are completely safe even in this most dangerous position. We should always be aware that in this material world, we are always in a dangerous position. Srimad Bhagavatam confirms Padam Padam Yad Vipadam Na Tesam. In this world, there is a danger at every step. The devotees of the Lord, however, are not meant to remain in this miserable, dangerous place. Therefore, we should take care to advance in Krishna conscious while in this human form. Then our happiness is assured.
Haribol, Hare Krishna. So with this, we come to the end of this book, The Path of Perfection. So Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So what is the path of perfection? Bhakti Yoga is the path. And what is perfection? Attaining a love for Krishna, rendering in service to the Lord. That is the greatest gift that we can give ourselves by attaining Krishna Prema in this human form of life, right? Otherwise, if we don't gift ourselves of Krishna Prema by engaging in activities which are pleasing to the Lord, by engaging in devotional service, then we are not utilizing the gift that we've got, which is this human form of life, right? In Nectar of Instruction, I believe Nectar of Devotion, I think. There is a beautiful verse which talks about how this human form of this human body is the boat or the ship, which will enable us to cross over the three modes of material nature or this ocean of transcendental science, right? Nectar of Devotion says this, and the favorable winds are our and the ship. The captain of the ship is the spiritual master. And the favorable winds are all of these Vedic scriptures, the Prabhupada's books, and all of these are favorable winds. So we're studying Srila Prabhupada's books, engaging in devotional service and the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. We can make proper utilization of the human form of life. And in this way, we can attain perfection, which is the going back home, back to Godhead and rendering service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jai God Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So now let's move on, jump to our next book that we're going to study, which is Bhagavad Gita. So once having completed this, now tomorrow we will not have a session because the session will be Monday to Friday. But however, on Sunday being Ekadashi, we will be starting our 13th book in the Srila Prabhupada Zoom series. What we are doing, what we started since January this year, I suppose. Yeah, no. We started from Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, which was last August. So we've completed like 12 books. And the 13th book would be The Nectar of Instruction by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravind Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So now let's move on to Bhagavad Gita. So we've been studying for the last 4 days. I think we've been studying about Bhagavad Gita. So quickly running through what we've covered thus far. First and foremost, we offer our obeisance unto the Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, and all of the Acharyas in the Vaishnava Parampara, because we saw how even this Bhagavad Gita itself has been spoken by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna, because it was originally spoken in the Parampara, the 4 bona fide Paramparas. However, it got lost because of the passage of time, and now Krishna is repeating this knowledge to Arjuna. And what are we supposed to understand as a result of studying Bhagavad Gita? We identify our Swarupa Siddhi. What is the Swarupa Siddhi? It is of 5 kinds or 5 rasas, starting with Shanta Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. So any person who studies the Bhagavad Gita has to attain this prayojana. But what is the first step? Atato Brahma Jignasa. That means I should first of all inquire, who am I, what is my position, who is the Lord, and how do I revive my love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what is covered in Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. And then we saw how this material nature has been created as a place for reformation for us. So this is a place where we get punished periodically, and then we realize that we are not supposed to be meant to be here. Why? Because we are Anandamaya Abhyasat. We are parts and parcels of the Lord. So it is in our right to always be happy, but we are not happy in this material world. Why is that? Maya, what is that? Mavivamsho Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manasastan Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshati. We are suffering in this material world because we are not identifying with our constitutional position as a soul, but because we are identifying ourselves with the body. And then we went on to see the 5 different topics which are covered in Bhagavad Gita, being Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. Right? We saw that Ishvara is the supreme sanctioner for all of the things. Everything happens only by the sanction of the Supreme Lord. And then we saw Jiva is part and parcel of the Lord. But although the Jiva has the capacity to become eternally happy, because of the choices that we make, because of the wrong choices, we continuously entangle ourselves in this material world. And where are we entangled? We are entangled in what is called Prakriti, which is this material world that has been created by the Lord, so that we reform ourselves. And when we get reformed, we go back to the Goloka Vrindavan Dham. We also saw how this material world is only the 1/4 of the total creation. The entire 3/4 of the creation is the spiritual world, where everybody is continuously engaged in service of the Lord. And then finally, we saw Kala and Karma. Kala refers to time, right? Everything takes its time. When we sow seeds, we get our harvest, but it is after a sufficient period of time, depending on which seed we've actually sown. Right? If it is a mango tree, then it will take many years to get the fruit of mango. Right? Similarly, according to whatever the seeds that we put into ourselves, right? We've got a material body right now, and according to our past desires and karmas, we have either a short time to perfect our life, or we may have a long time. But all said and done, the process of Anartha Nivritti will take place by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and all of us, sooner or later, will attain the desired success, which is Krishna Prema. And what are the 3 things that we need to ensure? One is, we need to hear from a bona fide spiritual master, just like Arjuna heard it from Lord Sri Krishna himself. So we need to hear from a bona fide person. Who is that bona fide person? Bona fide person is a person who's coming in any one of the 4 bona fide paramparas. Right? And then we are supposed to hear from the spiritual master. And then we saw how the Pratyaksha Praman or the Anumana Praman is not so good, because we are subject to 4 defects. We have imperfect senses. We are always put into illusion. We have the tendency to commit mistakes, and we also have the tendency to cheat. Because of all of these 4 anarthas or the 4 defects, we are not able to use the Aroha Pantha. or the ascending process of understanding the transcendental truth. We are not able to do it because of our 4 imperfections. So what is the way to understand the transcendental subject matter? Besides, the transcendental subject matter is best understood by Tadviti Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. So we need to find a bona fide spiritual master, hear from such a spiritual master with a submissive mood, without a challenging spirit, and by rendering service to such a spiritual master. In such a case, we saw how the Vedic knowledge can be imparted to us, and like how Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Teshamevanu Kampartam Aham Ajnana Jamtamaha Nashayami Atmabhavasto Jnana Deepena Bhashvataha. In this way, the lamp of transcendental knowledge will be lit by the spiritual master, will be lit by the Lord, but through the via media of the spiritual master, who is non-different from Krishna. Right? That's what we sing every day morning. What is it? Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastra Yuktas Tatha Bhav Yateva Shadbihi Kintu Prabhorya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. So we know that the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. The knowledge that we receive from the spiritual master by rendering service to the spiritual master and humbly inquiring from the spiritual master is non-different from Arjuna inquiring to Lord Shri Krishna. So in this way, we will attain the transcendental knowledge. So let's go forward and start reading. Okay, so we'll start with, okay, Maushmi Mataji, your hand is still up. Okay, let's start with you again. All right. Vedic knowledge is not from there.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. The Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vedic knowledge is not imparted by such defective living entities. It was imparted unto the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma is in his turn disseminated this knowledge to his son and disciple, and he in his turn disciple, and he originally received it from the Lord. The Lord is Parma, all perfect, and Purnam, sorry. The Lord is Purnam. Where is it? The Lord is Purnam, all perfect, and there is no possibility of his becoming subjected. Mataji.
Yes. Yeah. The Lord is Purnam, all perfect. Yeah.
Becoming subjected to the laws of material nature. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that the Lord is the only proprietor of everything in the universe, and that he is the original creator, the creator of Brahma. In the 11th chapter, the Lord is addressed as Prapitamaha, because Brahma is addressed as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and he is the creator of the grandfather. So no one should claim to be the proprietor of anything. One should accept only things set aside for him by Lord as his quota for the maintenance.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So here, Prapitamaha and Pitamaha, right? So Pitamaha means it refers to the creator of this entire universe, right? Pitamaha refers to the grandfather. But Lord Krishna is Prapitamaha. Why? Because he himself was the creator of Brahma, isn't it? We have this important verse of the first verse of the Bhagavatam, which says, Janmadiyasya yatonvayad itaratas charteshu vijñaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muyanti Yat Suraya. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Right? So Brahma is the creator of the entire universe. He does his creation under the guidance of Lord Shri Krishna himself. That is why he is called Visarga. The creation that Brahma is doing is called Visarga. That means he is doing the secondary creation under the guidance of Lord Shri Krishna. Right? That's why Brahma is called Pitamaha and our Lord Shri Krishna is called Prapitamaha. And then what is that? Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaya, right? So we just saw in the previous paragraph how we are all subject to the 4 defects. We are not able to understand things in the right perspective. So how did Brahma, right? Even Brahma is part of the living entities, right? Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. Even Brahma is one of the created beings. It is that he is Swayambhu. That means he is not created between, and the usual process, right? It was directly created. He emerged from the navel of Lord Krishna himself. That's what we call Swayambhu, right? But still, he is not the ultimate controller, and he is not all perfect, right? He is only, because he is the best of the perfected human beings. He is given this administrative responsibility of doing this visarga or doing this secondary creation, right? But he himself cannot do everything of his own, right? We all know how when Brahma came out of the navel of Lord Sri Krishna, he did not understand anything, right? Because he was seeing complete darkness up and down, and then what happened? He went up and down the stem, right? The stem of the stem of that particular, on the leaf of which he was actually found himself. He went up and down and he saw his complete darkness. And then he heard the word tapa, tapa, tapa. So again, there is the importance of Shabda Praman here. Even Brahma understood what he is supposed to do by actually hearing this Shabda called tapa, tapa, tapa. And then he performed austerity, and then he got guided. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave. Right? In the heart of Brahma, Lord Krishna gave him the transcendental knowledge of what he is supposed to do, why he has been created. So that is why Krishna is Prapitamaha. He is the father of the grandfather of this entire creation, who is Brahmaji. And secondly, we should understand that Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Krishna is the original creator of everything. Even Brahma has got created from Lord Sri Krishna. And even in the first canto of Bhagavatam, actually our Narada Muni, he asks, Veda Vyasji, he asks Narada Muni, that is Brahma, Narada Muni asks Brahmaji, right? Brahmaji is the father of Narada, right? So Narada Muni asks Brahma, it seems that you are the ultimate creator, because I don't see any other power beyond you. But Brahma says, no, I am only a secondary creator. I derive my power and the knowledge of the secondary creation from Lord Krishna himself. So in this way, we understand that Brahma himself says, and we have the entire Brahma Samhita, which starts with Ishwaraha Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govindaha, Sarvakarana Karanam, where Brahma only tells, right? He gives the first verse of the Brahma Samhita where he says, Ishwaraha Parama Krishna. Of course, we know Brahma is a controller. Brahma has created this material world. He is a controller of this universe, right? Because he was empowered by the Lord. But Ishwaraha Parama Krishna, the supreme controller of all the controllers, is Lord Krishna himself. With the Brahma who is empowered to perform this Visarga, he himself is empowered by Lord Sri Krishna. So these are the various quotations given by Prabhupada here to make us understand how the Lord is Purnam. And all of the creations of the Lord are also Purnam. Right? This material world itself is Purnam. Why? Because, everything is happening by perfect order. The sun rises at the right time. The sun sets at the right time. The moon rises, in the evening, in the twilight time. Automatically things are happening. But we cannot see the hand of Lord in this. Why? Because the Lord is eternally present in the Golokadam. All of his energies are also complete because they've been empowered by the Lord. And in this way, we see that the entire functioning of the Lord, whether it is a spiritual world or is a material world, or those administrators who have been empowered with this task, all of them have been perfectly equipped so that the material world performs perfectly well. Yeah. All right. Let's move ahead. Leela Nandini Mataji, go ahead. There are many examples.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam. There are many examples given of how we are to utilize these things which are set aside for us by the Lord. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita in the beginning. Arjuna decided that he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra.
No, Mataji, in the beginning, Arjuna decided. So it's also Bhagavad Gita ke baad full stop hai na. In the beginning, Arjuna decided that he should not fight.
Yeah. In the beginning, Arjuna decided that he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. This was his own decision. Arjuna told the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsman. This decision was based on the body because he was thinking that the body was himself and that his bodily relations or expansions were his brothers, nephews, brother-in-laws, grandfathers, and so on. Therefore, he wanted to satisfy his bodily demands. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord just to change this view. And at the end, Arjuna decides to fight under the directions of the Lord when he says, Karishe vajanam tavad. I shall act according to your word. In this world, men are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. Men must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like ordinary animals. A
Hare Krishna
human
Mataji, one second. I just want to tell one point in the previous paragraph, and then you can continue reading. Okay. So here, a very important point that Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Right, I always tell this. I think I've mentioned it before also. A very important point here is initially when Arjuna says, "I don't want to fight," right? Initially, until he surrenders, Krishna does not even speak a word. Right, he just listens like a friend. So the conversation is happening between two friends, Krishna and Arjuna. Right, so Arjuna is giving so many reasons why I should not fight the war, how I will incur sinful reactions, how there will be Varna Shankara, whom will I show my kingdom to, even if I win, whom will I show the showcase this kingdom to, like that. All of the reasons who's giving? Arjuna is giving to Lord Shri Krishna, telling Krishna that I will not fight. Right, but Krishna is not saying anything, right? But Arjuna himself is not convinced. And what does he say? Later on, he says, Sishyaste aham sadhi mam tvam prapannam. And then he surrenders to Lord Shri Krishna. And then the first words that Krishna speaks is, Asochan and Sochastam prajna vadam shabashase. You've been speaking, you think you've been speaking words of learned wisdom, right? We also think, oh, so many wonderful reasons Arjuna is giving. But Krishna is saying you're fool number one, because you have all your arguments or all your logical points are based on the body, right? And but an intelligent person, asochan anvasochastam prajna vadam sabashase gatasun agatasun cha nanu shochanti panditah. An intelligent person will not take this very seriously, right? Like that, Krishna continues saying that a person who's intelligent does not think on a bodily platform and make his decisions. That is what is explained here. And later on, Krishna does not force Arjuna, right? Because Arjuna is surrendered to him. Even then, Krishna does not force Arjuna that you have to fight, right? At the end of Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? After explaining so many 17 chapters, answering all of Arjuna's doubts, what does Krishna say? What is that? Yata ichasi tata kuru. Oh Arjuna, go ahead and do what you think is right now. I've given you the knowledge. Now you do whatever you like. But because Arjuna was hearing with sincerity, he was humble and he had surrendered completely to Lord Shri Krishna. What did he say? Karishye vachanam tava. I will act according to your word. So in this way, Krishna does not interfere with our free will. Krishna does not interfere at all until we surrender to Krishna or to his bona fide spiritual master or his bona fide representative, who's a spiritual master. And later on also, when we surrender to Krishna, then also we have this free will. They will not force us to take up the path of Krishna consciousness, to chant 16 rounds, right? We progress in our path of devotional service according to how much of Lord Krishna's instructions through the spiritual master are we able to imbibe in our life. To that extent, we will advance in our devotional service. So there's no compulsion, but there is always advice given, provided we surrender to the spiritual master and want to learn from the spiritual master. All right. So let's move forward. In this world, Leela Nandini Mataji, Leela Nandini Mataji, go ahead. In this world.
Okay. Yeah, Mataji. In this world, men are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. Men must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like ordinary animals. A human being should realize the aim of his life, and this direction is given in all Vedic literatures, and the essence is given in Bhagavad Gita. Vedic literature is meant for human beings, not for animals. Animals can kill other living animals, and there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature: the activities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables, also eatables in goodness, passion, and ignorance. All of this is clearly described. And if we properly utilize the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then whole life will become purified, and ultimately we will be able to reach the destination which is beyond the material sky. The destination is called Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So we'll ask someone else to read. So here, it's the same thing, right? We are all conditioned by our previous desires and by our previous karmas, right? And now we have this free will. What I'm going to do now? What is the desire now? What are the activities I'm performing now? I'm going to determine my next body. I have control in that perspective. That whatever decision I'm going to take now, whatever activities I'm going to indulge in now, whether I'm doing activity in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, whether I'm eating the food stuff that is in goodness, passion, or ignorance, according to that, either we can reach the ultimate destination of going back home, back to Godhead, which will be explained in the next verse, next paragraph by Prabhupada, which is called the Sanatana sky, or at least if I make a conscious choice of engaging in devotional service, even if I don't perfect my life and go back home, back to Godhead, at least I will land myself in a situation where I can continue this path of devotional service. That's why Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita also that a person who performs this process of bhakti yoga but does not perfect his life will get a chance to continue with the process of devotional service by being born in a Vaishnava family or a Brahminical family or in an affluent family like that. So everyone gets an opportunity according to what is practiced in the previous life to continue that path of devotional service. Okay. Manimala Mataji already read. So let's ask Jai Moti Radha Mataji. Go ahead. You keep your hand raised, Mataji. We'll come back to you after Sarvagopishna Mataji. Yes. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
1 minute, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. That destination is called
from there only, Mataji.
Yes.
The destination is called as Sanatana sky, the eternal spiritual sky. Yed gatva na nivartante tad dama paramam mama. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. That is the law of material world. Whether we use an example, this body or a piece of fruit or anything, but beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have information. That world consists of another nature, which is Sanatana, eternal. The Jiva is also described as a Sanatana, eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatana in the 11th chapter. We have the intimate relationship with the Lord, and because we are qualitatively one, the Sanatana Dharma or sky, the Sanatana Supreme Personality, and the Sanatana living entities, the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatana occupation of Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are the temporarily engaged in different activities, but all these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Supreme Lord, that is called our pure life. The Supreme Lord and his transcendental abode are both Sanatana, as are the living entities, and the combined association of the Supreme Lord and the living entities in the Sanatana abode is the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are his sons. Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Yonisho Aham Bija Pradapita. I am the father of all. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas. But here the Lord claims that he is the father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all of these fallen conditioned souls to call them back to the Sanatana eternal sky, so that the Sanatana living entities may regain regain their eternal Sanatana position in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes himself in the different incarnations, or he sends his confidential servant as a sons or his associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls. Can I read Mataji forward?
Yeah. No, we'll ask Sarvagopishri Mataji.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So here again, the same thing is being explained. What is explained? The Achintya Beda Tattva is being explained here, right? We are Amshas of the Lord. We already discussed this in detail. So we'll not go into the details. The example was given of the fire and the spark. The example was given of a drop of water in the ocean and the ocean itself, right? So we are equal to the Lord in terms of quality, but we are different from the Lord in terms of quantity. But what is the Sanatana Dharma? Right? We are Sanatana means we are also eternal. The Lord is Sanatana, the Lord is also eternal. But there is something that we have not kept as our eternal dharma. What is that? Because we are engaging in serving our own senses. We are not maintaining that particular aspect as eternal. Why? Because if we serve our senses and our body, it is temporary, right? How can we make our service eternal? Our service can be made eternal only when we engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? That's what is mentioned in Bhagavatam. Savipumsam parodharma yada bhaktiradokshuje ahituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. That means the eternal occupation of the living entity, which is called Sanatana Dharma, it is that only which can give bliss to the living entity. Everything else will only cause frustration. So that is what is being explained. So next couple of paragraphs we will read now, which is going to talk about what is this Sanatana Dharma, what is the eternal Dharma of the human being. Okay, Sarva Gopishri Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Sanatana Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Sripada Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatana as that which has neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripada Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatana Dharma refers to the activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is eternally integral with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripada Ramanujacharya that it has the beginning, it has no beginning or no end, nor end. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be a sectarian, but for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business of all the people of the world, nay, of all the living entities of the universe. Non-Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, but there is no beginning to the history of Sanatana Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. In the Gita, it is stated that the living entity is never born and he never dies. He is the eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatana Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to the which is constantly existing with a particular object. We conclude that there is a heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and the fire, light, there is no meaning to the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is the constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that the eternal quality is eternal religion.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So here, Prabhupada is making a very wonderful point, right? What is the meaning of dharma? Dharma is something that cannot be separated from the particular object, right? Prabhupada gives examples, so many examples Prabhupada gives. Water as to liquidity, right? The liquid water, can the liquidity be separated from water? No. It is the essential quality of the liquid that it is watery. And similarly, Prabhupada also gives example of heat and light and fire. Right? Can fire exist without heat and light? Right? Fire means heat and light are already attached with it. Now, in another situation, also Prabhupada gives example of sweetness and sugar. Just like the sweetness cannot be taken away from sugar. They are so essentially integrated with each other. Similarly, what is dharma? The dharma of the human being or the living entity is to render service. That is the dharma of the living entity. But we have the free will whether we want to render service to the Lord or we want to render service to our senses. If we render service to the Lord, we will go to the abode of the Lord. If we render service to our senses or to our engaging in sense gratification, then we'll be going around this material world. What is that? Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. We'll be seeing, having the darshan of dukkha or suffering in this material world if we decide to continuously engage in sense gratification and not perform our eternal dharma, which is Sanatana Dharma. If you are engaged, according to the choice that we make, either we can go back home, back to Godhead, or we continue to suffer in this material world. All right, so let's read maybe 3-4 minutes more, and then we'll conclude with Harinam Sankirtan. Okay, let's complete this topic of Sanatana Dharma. All right, so we'll read Manimala Mataji. Go ahead. When Sanatana Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna,
When Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Sarupa of every living being, the Lord replied that the Sarupa or constitutional position of the living being is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we analyze
Krishnera Nityadas. What is the constitutional position? Jivera Swarupa. What is that? Nityera Krishna Das, rendering of service to the Lord. Yes, go ahead.
If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya's, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living beings in various capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B master, B serves C master, B serves C, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend, the mother serves the son, the wife serves the husband, and the husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in this spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. The voters therefore give the politician their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves the family, and the family serves the state in the terms of the capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to other living beings. And therefore, we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being, and that the rendering of service is the eternal religion of the living being. Yet man...
Thank you, Mataji. We'll ask this now. Kishori Mataji, go ahead. Yet man professes...
We'll end
with you. Yeah. Hare Krishna, yes.
Thank you, Mataji. Yet man professes to belong a particular type of faith with reference to particular time and circumstances, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or an adherent of any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatana Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change to his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christians in all circumstances is a servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one's Sanatana Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatana Dharma. Factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Enjoyer, and we living entity are His servitors. We are created for His enjoyment, and we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently. We just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for the living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or render service to them is not approved. It is stated in 7th chapter, 28th verse. Kamis taisatair rita jnanaha prapadyante jna devataha tam tam niyamama ashtaya prakritiya niyataha swaya. Those who intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. When we maintain the name Krishna, we do not refer to any sectarian name. Krishna means the highest pleasure, and it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoirs or storehouse of all pleasure. We are all hankering after pleasure. Ananda Maya Bhashyata Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. The living entities like the Lord are full of consciousness, and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy, and if living entities associate with the Lord, cooperate with Him, and take part in His association, then they also become happy. The Lord descends to this mortal world to show His pastime in Vrindavana, which are full of happiness. When Lord Shri Krishna was in Vrindavana, his activities with his coward boyfriends, with his themselves friends, with the other inhabitants of Vrindavana, and with the cows, were all full of happiness. The total population of Vrindavana knew nothing but Krishna. But Lord Krishna even discouraged his father Nanda Maharaja for worshipping the demigod Indra, because he wanted to establish the fact that people need not worship any demigod. They need only worship the Supreme Lord, because their ultimate goal is to return to his abode. The abode at Lord Shri Krishna is Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 6th verse.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Mataji. We are running out of time. Okay, so I just wanted to make two important points here, and then we end our session here with Harinam Sankirtan. So two important points is, we've already discussed this a couple of times, right? Devotional service can be rendered only unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We cannot render devotional service to Devatas. Why? Because we don't have any kind of love for the Devatas also, right? Kamestasya hrita jnana prapadyante anya devataha. Krishna tells very Krishna nails it there, right? We pray to the demigods because we are kamestasya hrita jnana, because kama is there in our heart, because lust is there in our heart, that we want this, we want that. Because of sense gratification only, Krishna says that people worship the Devatas. Real love can be established only with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Lord will not give us anything that make us go away from the Lord, right? If the Lord gives us something that makes us glued to that particular sense object, then we will forget Krishna, right? Krishna does not want us to forget Him. In that way, Krishna is actually coming down. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata paritranaya sadhuna vinasha jajuspratam. Like that, Krishna is giving us like trailers of the spiritual world by performing these wonderful pastimes in Vrindavan Dham. Right? So what is the moral of the story? Moral of this entire thing, what the last 3-4 paragraphs we read. Just like we feed the stomach and our whole body is energized. Similarly, we have to worship and serve and satisfy the Supreme Lord. And in this way, all of its parts and parcels, namely living entities, namely the jivas, can all be satisfied. Hence, we only need to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the only purpose of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead by going back home, back to Godhead. So that is the ultimate purpose of all of our activities, all of our services. It has to be samsiddhir hari toshanam. It is perfect only when rendered for the pleasure of the Lord. It is frustrating when it is being done for our own sense pleasure. Hare Krishna. So with that, we will end our today's session. We'll do Harinam Sankirtan for about 3-4 minutes, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. We'll not have a session tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, we meet on Ekadashi Tidhi, Putrada Ekadashi it is. So we meet on Ekadashi Tidhi for continuing our study of the introduction. I think we'll complete our introduction on the auspicious occasion of Ekadashi, and then we will start our new book, which is Nectar of Instruction, and then we'll also do 180 important verses. We'll do 1 round of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. We'll also sing one nice Vaishnava bhajan and also study the meaning, because the Vaishnava bhajans have the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness, like capsule, right? If we have just had one capsule, immediately we relieved of headache, right? So those are small capsules. By just doing one song and understanding the meaning of that song, we understand the mode of the Vaishnava acharyas, and then what the realization that we may get by studying an entire book, we will immediately get simply by singing a song, because we are entering service for the pleasure of the Lord, and by understanding the meaning of that song, right? So in this way, we will do on Ekadashi day. So please do join us. Mostly it will be 11 to 1 or 12 to 2, as the case may be. So it will not be more than 2 hours, right? So this is how we have planned it, so that all of us can join for the entire session. All right. Hare Krishna. Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pasatyari Shadarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Guru Parampara Jaya Guru Parampara Jaya Guru Parampara Jaya Guru Parampara Jaya Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Harinam Sankirtan ki jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna. So let's quickly see who all we have today. Everyone can also unmute themselves now. Any questions? You may raise your hands. Okay, we have Shobha Mataji, Nilanjani Mataji, Maushmi Mataji, Namkishori Mataji, Sarva Gopeshri Mataji, Moni Mala Mataji, Sudha Mataji, Karpakavalli Mataji. All right, thank you very much. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vidai Gaura Prema Nande. Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. We'll meet tomorrow morning for the Brahma Murta chanting session, and then we meet on Ekadashi for our full-blown morning program as well as our Ekadashi special session. Hare Krishna. Yes, anyone wants to?
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes.
Yes,
Sarva Krishna Mataji.
For the past 3 days now, after the Pongal, that time we are having Madura, so I couldn't attend.
Yes.
Sorry.
Chennai. Yes. Mataji, please check it out on YouTube, Mataji, so that we are maintaining continuity. Just read on.
But I was not. Sorry.
Yes. Thank you, Sam. I saw Madura. And so many Kirtaniyas are there. Bhakti Bringa Govindas Maharaj, Banu Maharaj.
Bhakti Bringa Govinda Maharaj and Indradev Maharaj are very extra. And Mayapur, Kamala Kannan, that Prabhu, no, Mayapur Prabhu, Kirtaniya.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Maushmi Mataji, anything?
Mataji, in that when we were reading that Bhagavad Gita, na, that sectarian, what is the meaning of sectarian?
Sectarian means it is applicable only for a particular kind of group of people. For example, Hindus, right? They generally say that Krishna is a Hindu god, and Christians, they should not worship Hindu god like that. But Prabhupada clarifies that there is no word called Hindu in the Vedic scriptures. There is only one eternal dharma. What is the Sanatana dharma? Whichever process which will enable us to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Krishna means one who is all attractive, one who attracts all sectors of people, all sections of people, all kinds of people. That is Lord Krishna. But how will we get attracted? Only when we understand the message of Lord Krishna. How do we understand the message? By studying Bhagavad Gita under a bona fide guru. Then we understand that Krishna does not belong to the Hindus. He is actually available, and his mercy is there for the all sectors of people, all sections. So Krishna consciousness is not sectarian. It is not for certain people only, right? It is for everybody. Okay, madam?
Okay.
All right. Hare Krishna. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll meet tomorrow morning for the Brahma Murta chanting session, and then after tomorrow on the most auspicious occasion of Ekadashi. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Pranam to all the devotees.
Hare Krishna.